Hi, it's Sharon, and this is part 2 of how to take a test and pass it, whether it's the real estate test or the mortgage test. So now I'm going to talk to you about actually taking the test. So once you sit down and you're ready to take the test, one of the first things you need to do is to take a deep breath. Just hold it in and let it out. Shake out your hands, get ready to take the test, and don't let anything that you have to do after the test be on your mind. You have to think just about, hey, I'm here for the test. I'm not doing anything after the test. Because if you're thinking, oh, afterwards, I'm gonna go celebrate, I'm gonna do this, and you're thinking of all the stuff you're gonna do and who you're gonna talk to and who you're gonna say, I passed the test, then all you're gonna be thinking about is that, and you're not gonna focus on the test, okay? So you need to focus on the test. So you get in there, you sit down. For the real estate test, you're gonna have a whiteboard and a computer that you're gonna be looking down into. On the mortgage test, it depends where you're taking it, but you're probably gonna be in a cubicle with cameras looking at you, and they'll give you a colored piece of paper. So the real estate test, you'll have a whiteboard, and on the mortgage test, you will have a colored piece of paper to write your notes on, okay? For both tests and any test that you're gonna be taking, one of the things that I do that I was taught this by my dad, and my dad was a genius, and I do mean a genius. I used to say my brother got the brains, my sister got the looks, and I got ripped off. So I was the little kid that wasn't doing so good on the test. And so my dad sat me down and taught me, he said, there's 12 things that you need to know about taking tests. And he gave me that piece of paper, and I share that with my classes. And I'm sharing with you today the most important things about taking a test. So the first one is take a deep breath. Make sure that you're ready to go. Shake it out. Number 2, don't be worrying about other stuff. You're focusing on the test, okay? Now that you're focusing on the test, you know that you have your scratch paper or your whiteboard, and you're gonna look at the test, and I know you don't have to do it my way, but you guys, I pass every test that I take with at least an 87. And I've even taken practice tests just to see if I could pass them and not know anything about the subject, and I passed. So the first thing I do is I look at the answers. I look at D, then C, then B, then A. Keeping in mind what the answers are, then I read the question. Okay, now the first thing that you need to know is if it says all of the above, the next thing you're gonna do, and this is so hard to do, but this is how I pass my broker's exams for my continuing education. I look at D, and if it says all of the above, then you need to look at C. Is C right? If you don't know, then look at B. And you're like, well, B's right. And then you look at A and you're like, well, A's right and B's right. I don't know about C, but I know that 2 are right. So that means all of the above are going to be right. That's why you always look at D first, because if you looked at A and it was right, and you didn't bother to look at D and it said all the above, you might have gotten it wrong. The other is true about if D says both A and B, or both A and C. If D says that, look at those 2 and make sure you know if they're right or not. Look at the question and then move forward. Okay, that's like one of the best things I can tell you. The other thing I can tell you as an educator is when I'm making up a test, I almost never, ever have A to be right. Because if A is right, you're not going to look at B, C, and D. And I wasted all that time coming up with answers that might seem like they're the right answer, and it was a waste of my time. So C is the most popular answer. So C is the most popular answer. The other thing is the longest answer is probably a good chance that it's the correct answer. So if you get to a question and you absolutely don't know anything, you're like, I don't know anything about this question, and we'll talk about that at the end of this video on the thing that we teach. It's called the T, or I call it the T, okay? So when you get to a question that you absolutely don't know, then go ahead and go with the longest answer. Look at the longest answer, look at C. If C is the longest answer, it's probably the correct answer, okay? So read the answers first and then read the questions, okay? The other thing is watch out for the questions that say except, because usually they're saying all of the following are correct, except. If they say all of the following are correct, except, you're actually looking for the wrong answer. And those are the ones that are tricky. They're not trying to make it easy. They're trying to make sure that you're reading the question, you're thinking about it, and you're answering the question, okay? So to review, when you're taking the test, take a deep breath, shake it out, focus on the test, look at the answers first, keeping the answers in mind, read the question. Watch out for when it says except. Now I'm going to show you what the T is. And the T is something that they came up with. I thought real estate trainers came up with it. And when I first saw it, I thought it was ridiculous and I would never do it. Then I started doing it on my test. Then I started sharing it with my students. And then I got a text from one of my students that said, Sharon, you know what? I use this theory, if that's what you want to call it, in college. And if I didn't do this, I would have never passed my college courses. So let's go ahead and end right here. And then I'll come back and I'll show you how to do the T.